Peace, everyone. We're getting right into the collective daily message. There's been this deepening of self recognition, self worth, and also showing up for yourself in the way that ultimately you wished you shown up for yourself in life before, and also in ways that you were never taught how to show up for yourself. To me, this is speaking to actively allowing yourself to see yourself fully for the first time, not the aspects of you that have been hurt and wounded, right, from your experiences, but the true, authentic version of you without you automatically shutting that aspect of you down because you were afraid of shining your light and even you were afraid of succeeding. So let's get into these cards. I just wanted to say that because there's an aspect of vision and sight that ultimately is taking place within the collective. And we can talk about, yes, third eye awakening and opening, but it's so much more than that. For me, it's about seeing ourselves and not being limited by the shell and the vessel that we operate out of. And the first card that came out is Anam Kara, which speaks to unconditional love. And yes, this can speak to romance as well, romantic connections, but ultimately, any partner that you are in alignment with is only going to be able to walk the pathways that you have created for yourself. That means if you are loving on yourself. And I just feel like I need to take a moment. The divine is putting this on my heart. I went through a really hard relationship, and I'm not even going to get into the details of that. But after that ended, I started to date myself. I started to take myself out, for dinner dates. I started to buy myself flowers every single week, some weeks twice a week. I would have romantic evenings by myself where I would have the fireplace going and listening to some good music and had some wine, right? And it was a vibration of pouring into myself. I did these really beautiful baths with rose petals, candles, crystal stones, um, bubbles, of course, maybe some wine. And I created a pathway that I was going to tend to myself and love myself in a particular way. And that if anyone was coming into my energetic field, they had to replicate that, right? Because why would you settle for less when you are creating the pathway of greatness, right? When you are creating the pathway of, you're setting that standard in place of what you will accept. And this is you setting the standard of what you will also accept in your life, right? Not necessarily just romantically, but career wise, friendship wise. What are you investing your time? Is it into? Is it pouring into you as you are pouring into yourself? Is it pouring into, themselves as well? It has to be a mutually beneficial relationship, right? So, in this aspect, I feel like there is a delayering process of what's been false coming off of you, so you can see the truth, not the mask that your enemies projected upon you because that's what they wanted you to see. You're getting to see the truth of you. You're getting to see the heart, the mind, the wisdom. You're getting to see how you are so much more than just a vessel. And again, Spirit is saying, do it again. I had this thing that I felt like my only worth was my beauty, right? Because I went through a lot of hardships. And there's something I could say that I've gone through sexual abuse when I was younger. And we're not getting into the details of that. But the point is that created in me a a thought, right? An energetic field vibration that I only felt worthy if I was seen from a physical standpoint. That the only value I had to give was my beauty, my body. And in reality, the falsehoods of that derailed my life for a long time. And I know that there's many women who feel that way. And I know that there's many men who feel, that they are only good as, providers or whatever skill set that they have, right? That they've been made to only be seen in a very limited, from a very limited point of view, instead of the grandness of who we really are. And this reading is speaking to the grandness of who we really are and actively recognizing that within ourselves. And spirit is telling me it's like this, there's this thing, when you're in love and like your pupils get really dilated. When we're experiencing love, even love for ourselves, there is this aspect where the pupils do get dilated. And in that, the pupils being dilated, it's science, y'all can look it up. Um, more light was able to come in. You're able to see different levels of light spectrum. Okay, so just a trick for y'all. Okay, if you are looking to see more into the spirit realm, you need to start with loving yourself. And this isn't something that can obviously be like manipulated. Okay, this is truth. So this is hard work. Okay, hard work. So you're gonna have to go with self forgiveness, self acceptance, self worth, self care, well, self love and self care. And doing all this, you're going to tend to this vessel, right? And you're going to allow your pupils to be dilated, and you're going to be able to feel more love within yourself, right? And thus receive more light spectrum, and you'll be able to see more of the truth of what's actively around you and what energies you are embodying. This is a process of actively reclaiming yourself. The next card that came out is kerosene. To me, this is speaking to, an aggressive fire, an aggressive energy that's ultimately pulling on your heart's desire, your soul's purpose, your destiny, even your true desires of how you would actively like to experience um, this earth plane, experience your life. But I'm also getting from Archangel Michael, it's purification, right? The kerosene is ultimately when we're going through, and I love that. The archangels told me something, but he wants me to stick to the point is it is an aspect of refinement, right? When there's kerosene and there's this fuel, and it can be again where it's like kundalini rising, certain energies within certain people, but understand that it may be uncomfortable at certain points in time. But even in this discomfort is burning off and is bringing light and awareness to what is there that doesn't need to be in your path, that doesn't need to be in your energy field. Okay. And so understand that this fuel or this kerosene is there ultimately to ignite your pathways. It's ultimately there to purify what doesn't belong in your energetic field. And then we have the next card that came out, which was the constellation. And the constellation to me speaks to networking actively. They're bringing back to mind the visit that I had from this beautiful divine being, and it looked like it was embodying the cosmos within its face, right? It was fantastic. But in that visit, right, the constellation to me is speaking to like soul tribe, soul family, visitations that are ultimately taking place, and it doesn't always have to be something where it's happening in in the dream time or in the physical. This could be something where um, you're experiencing, soul family, soul connections that are actively there to support you on your way to your destiny, your destination. And understand that the journey is such a beautiful part of the destination. I think if anything, it's what gives the destination the grandness that it really is because of the trials, the tribulations, the refinement, the growth, the experiences that you encounter in this journey ultimately show you who you truly are. It reveals the truth of you to you and to others as well. If they're willing to see the truth. The next card that came out is the rainbow. To me, this is speaking to um, kind of the gold pot at the end of the rainbow, but it's speaking to the energy flowing on all our chakras, right? And I spoke to the kerosene, right? The energy purifying what isn't there. So I feel like today is ultimately liberation that's happening. It's not always going to feel nice for some. I'm going to be honest. This process for me, as I was going through Kundalini rising and energy clearing out of certain chakras, It can be a moment where someone can feel agitated, right? Because there's a lot coming off of them. Things that they feel are trying to hold them down. This can be an energy where, someone ultimately could be fighting, right? But it's not necessarily where you have to fight. This is just, if someone doesn't know how to manage these energies, and I would say a lot of grounding, a lot of water, making sure that you are doing breath work in these energies, it's really really beautiful. And what's happening, it's for your greatest good. Okay, it is for you showing up in the correct timeline that you were always meant to show up in, accessing those higher roads. But in order to access those higher roads, the parts of us that do not fit on those pathways, do not belong on those pathways, the parts that are false, right? And, Archangel Michael was speaking to this delayering process of what's false has to come out. And so that's a beautiful process of refinement. Um, the Ace of Swords came out. To me, this is speaking to mental agility. This is speaking to um, deeper insights on a crown chakra level. Excuse me, I'm just getting the information. This is speaking to cords being cut and severed from connections that are no longer serving you. This is you rising to the occasion of your life and having the support of the divine along with you. And to confirm that, we have the Four of Wands. This is speaking to like countryside. This is speaking to working collaboration. And I'm just noticing, yes, they have their robes, but one is purple and one is red, right? From the root to the crown. This is where now the root chakra experience is being elevated by the crown, right? Because again, you are starting to see the versions of yourself that are true. You are starting to nurture that. And it doesn't mean that you may not be a bit scared, right? Growth can be a bit scary. And I do know there was a certain energy in the air where it's like we're looking at making sure that we're not leaving anyone behind. But what Spirit has made it very clear for me is that everyone in their own timing is on their own individual journey. You don't need to feel like you need to remain small to carry certain people with you, because your destiny is your destiny, your destination is your destination. And it doesn't matter what someone else's destination is, that's their destination. And you can't bring them to the destination with you. And I feel like this needs to be heard by a lot of people, because unfortunately, when you have deep connections with someone, right, whether it's romantic, whether it's friendship, whether it's familial, you don't want to see them essentially left behind. But it's not leaving them behind when you are choosing yourself and choosing your light and choosing to embody that version of self and step into your greatest version, step into the alignments that have been prepared for you, because in their journey and in their time they will also step in to the alignments that have been prepared for them. It doesn't mean that you can't have a connection with these people, right, at any point in time, but understand that your path is taking you on your own course in your own direction, as their path is taking them on their own course in their own direction. And you have the Queen of Swords. The Queen of Swords is speaking to the aspect of being guarded, right? The aspect of us that have gone through a lot of suffering, but in that suffering there was a lot of wisdoms gained and attained, okay, through those experiences that propelled our growth. Now, in this propelling our growth, there's been beautiful insights that we want to share with the world, share with the person next to us, and understand that the world card came out next. And for the world to come out, to me, that's letting me know that in this new season of your life, in this new experience that you're walking into, your experiences from the past that caused you to be the Queen of Swords, to be in that Queen of Swords energy, are ultimately going to allow you to operate out of wisdom. You'll know who you want to be connected to. You'll know who you don't want to be connected to. And in that, you'll actively make wiser choices. See, we're not always victims of circumstance. It's about having the foresight and the wisdom to choose better. So, with that being stated, y'all, thank you so much for tapping into this reading with me and the divine. If you're curious about the services that we offer, you can go to www.mamarain.org. Y'all have a wonderful one from me and Spirit. Peace.